everyone, my name is Chrissy and welcome to my channel. Today I am bringing you my Medievalathon TBR. Medievalathon is the brainchild of Holly Hart's books. It is a readathon that goes throughout July, and I'm really excited about it because it's pretty unique as far as readathons go, at least in my eyes. How the readathon works is that depending on how many books you read is depending on kind of your nobility status. If you only read one book in the month, then you are a lowly peasant. But if you read the max 6 books in a month, and more than that, you are a king/queen. Now, I normally read about 8 books per month on average, so I think I'll be able to get to royalty. There's also prompts, and each prompt goes with a certain piece of armor or weapon that you can don at the end of the readathon. And yeah, I just think that's really awesome. So there's no shame that if you decide not to follow any of the prompts, you can just run around naked, as Holly says in her video, and that's okay. But I tried my best to fit the prompts in. Now, admittedly, I've been a really bad mood reader, and I haven't been the greatest with following readathons. I managed to make the Asian readathon just because I did one book for all the prompts. I decided to put around 2 books for each prompt that I could find if I had them already on my shelves. I didn't want to buy more books for the readathon, nor did I want to check out even more books than I already have from the library. I think I got a pretty good TBR set up, and since I did a couple for each prompt, that means that if I decide not to read one, that's okay. I can just go to the other one. So this way it gives me more of a choice throughout. Hopefully it'll also give you some recommendations for this readathon. So let's just jump into this. In order to get a crown on this head, I need to have a book where a character fights for the throne. I have 2 books that fit with this, and I actually think I have more than that, but we're going to go with 2 books. The first one is Dinosaur Lords by Victor Milan. This is a fantasy book with kingdoms and wars and fighting with dinosaurs. How could you not be interested in that, is my question. So this is one that I'll be looking at to maybe get that crown on top of my head. Now, the second book that I picked out for this prompt, so if I'm not feeling like Dragon Lords, I can pick this one, is Queen of the Tierling by Erica Johansson. This is about a young woman who comes onto the throne. Her name is Princess Kelsia? I don't know. I feel like I always mispronounce names in fantasy books. She recently comes onto the throne and she's surrounded by enemies, and she kind of has to try and navigate her way through things, and I guess there's a war that happens. I've seen this a lot in BookTube and BookTwitter and Tumblr when it came out as well. So I bought it and it's been on my shelves for a bit. It'll be interesting to get through. I've heard good things. I'm hopeful. In order to get a helmet, I would need to read a book with a dragon on the cover, and there's 2 books that I picked for this. The first one is The Dragon Lord's Fool's Gold by John Hollins. This is a fantasy heist book, and I'm really looking forward to it because it just seems really funny. I just was perusing Barnes & Noble one day and saw this book and was like, I need it. It has a dragon. It's a need. So that's one of the books that I may be reading. If not this book, I did pick another one, and that is A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. This follows a noble woman named Lady Trent, who is a researcher of dragons, and so this is about her adventure of finding out about dragons and her making historical discoveries. I love that. I love when books make it more of historical accounts, so I'm very much looking forward to this. I've also heard good things, and I know that this is the first in a series. I think all of these are first in series so far. Yeah. Now, if I want a chest plate in order to protect myself in battle, then I need to read a book that is shiny, a shiny book. So I chose Graceling by Kristen Cashore, and it's about this gal named Katsa who is, I guess, the king's kind of assassin. She's known as a Graceling, and she has an incredible skill to kill people. So the king says, let's put that to work. And from what I gather in the back, she develops feelings. And maybe not romantically inclined, but just feelings. And that's always trouble for someone who's an assassin. That's the only book I had that was shiny, so I don't have a second one to go with it. So if I want armored thighs, if I need armor plate for those, then I need to read a thick paperback. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of the ones that I just talked about are thick paperbacks. However, I did pick 2 books that would fit into this. The first one is The Necropolis Archives by Tim Waggoner. And this is actually the complete Matt Richter collection, so I believe it's 3 books and a couple of short stories. Collected stories. And it's a zombie private investigator series, which is amazing. I do really like fantasy private investigator series, so this will be a good one to get into. Also, this was given to me by a friend to read. It's actually a borrowed book, but I didn't really ask for this. Like, my friend kind of just put it in my hands. He was like, read this. And I, almost a little bit out of spite, I was like, nah. So I decided to actually, put this on a TBR and get to it, because I kind of feel bad that I've had his book for quite a while. He knows where it is. He can pick it up at any time. I would never begrudge him coming to get his book, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. Hopefully I'll get to this in July. The second book I picked up for this is The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. The Black Prism is another collection of books. It's a trilogy by Brent Weeks. Now, I read Brent Weeks' Night Angels series, so long ago, but I really loved it, so I picked this up because all 3 books in one, why not? And it's about this guy named Guile who is the Prism, and that means he's the most powerful man in the world. He finds out he has a son, and now he has to figure out, how am I going to protect the secret, and what lengths will he go to protect that? I don't know why he needs to protect it, but it sounds important, and I can't wait to figure out why. Then, if I want, I think they're called greaves. It's the armor that goes, I think, on your shins and over your foot. So, not really boots, but it just goes over it. But, at any rate, if I want those, then I need a book that has yellowed over time. I actually have a lot more than 2 books for this, because I bought a lot of used books that are fantasy, and they're older fantasy, so they've been pretty yellowed over time. But I do have 2 books for this. The first one is The Outlaws of Sherwood by Robin McKinley. And this is a Robin Hood retelling, which I'm very interested in. I love Robin McKinley's writing, so win-win for me. And it's very yellowed. The second one is Peregrine Secundus by Avram Davidson. Peregrine is the bastard child of King Paladrin, and apparently he goes through wacky adventures. I'm very interested to see what sort of wacky adventures, and if this is a comedic fantasy book, because from the back it just seems like it is. And it's less than 200 pages, so I'm wondering what he gets up to. And I probably will read this book over a lot of others, just because it's tiny. Then, if I want a cloak, I would need to read a book with red on the dust jacket. So I picked 2 books for this. The first one is Go Mutants by Larry Doyle. Larry Doyle is the author who wrote I Love You, Beth Cooper. And this is the second novel he wrote, or at least published. And apparently it's where humans and aliens, for the most part, live in harmony with one another. And a certain alien teenager is going through an angst-filled time, and it's pretty much a teenage comedy, but with aliens and mutants. And the second book I have for this is Kill the Farm Boy by Delilah S. Dawson and Kevin Hearn. And this is a little bit of a parody of a lot of fantasy novels. There's a chosen one, but he's not like other chosen ones, and I'm not entirely sure if that's because of his personality or just where he's the chosen one in. In the magical kingdom of Pell, there's just a lot of weirdness going on. I was reading the synopsis, and apparently there's an assassin who's afraid of chickens, so that's cool. But I heard this was really funny, and I'm always glad for funny fantasy. It's one of my favorite, very specific genres, is humoristic fantasy. So yes, I definitely want to get to this one. This is one of the few hardbacks that I have bought full price. Now, there are prompts for weapons, and I'm just going to read them out. I'm pretty sure I have books that cover at least 2 of the weapons, and I'll go over that. So if I wanted to do a sword, I would need a book with something pointy on the cover. Well, I have Graceling and I think that covers a sword. If I wanted daggers, then I would need to read a book with assassins, and I think that's also Graceling, and Black Prism, I'm pretty sure, has assassins. I'll be disappointed if it doesn't. Then a book with elves, if I want a bow and arrow. I'm fairly certain at least one of those books has elves in it. I would be surprised if Kill the Farm Boy doesn't have elves at some point in time. Neither here nor there. If I wanted an axe, then I would need to read a book with mercenaries. And I'm sure there's a book somewhere in there with mercenaries. Somewhere. That is my TBR for Medievalathon. Are you reading any of these books? Do any of these books seem interesting to you? Have you read them? Please comment down below. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like seeing this face talk about books, hit that subscribe button. And as always and forever, may get lost in a book.